afternoon. This is Education 607 Composition class with Liberty University. My name is Renata Sokrutova and I will be teaching a lesson on diction, a demonstration of ways to help writers choose the right word. At the end of the lesson, the students will be able to learn and know the definition and the purposes of diction. They will engage in building a framework for fostering word consciousness. They will foster awareness in regards to the purpose of writing, determine the meaning of words and phrases as they use in text, and complete a verbal decoding activity. Words surround and affect people everywhere they go. Without verbal encoding, we would be lost. This is basic knowledge, but research shows that the more words students learn, the more information they will retain. According to Finfield, one author quoted, "Words are the most satisfactory which give the best expression to the thoughts of our mind and produce the effect which we desire upon the minds of the judges." And while understanding that words are crucial to human learning and processing and acquiring knowledge, there is a lack of research in this area. Studies show that the reason for the lack of research is that educators have just given priority to audiolingualism as opposed to phonology and syntax. In almost all of the subjects, the vocabulary and the words are just used as a vehicle. However, if we think about it, words are more than a vehicle. They are the building blocks to learning. They are foundational to student learning in any subject. So let's build some background. Right now, I would like to ask all of the students to write down 3 of their favorite words and the reason why you like those words. Some of my favorite words are preposterous, splendid, and decipher. And I like those words simply because they sound sophisticated. So we will leave these words for our activity at the end, but I just kind of wanted to stimulate students in terms of the words that they like. So what do we know about diction? What is the purpose of diction? Diction is the choice and the use of words and phrases in speech or writing. Diction is usually judged with a reference to standards of proper writing as well as speech. It is seen as the mark of quality of writing and understood as the selection of certain words or phrases that express the thoughts of the writer for the purpose of giving the reader some stimulation, making the reading peculiar for the reader. So words surround people for a variety of purposes. If we pay attention to how the words are used, and if we try to decode the meaning and the purpose of words that surround us, we actually engage in word consciousness. It is very important to engage students in word consciousness. This mental activity involves cognitive effort, integration of metacognition of words, motivation to learn about words, and interest in words. There are actually certain activities that foster word consciousness. For example, having a word-rich environment fosters word consciousness. You can't see it right now, but my classroom is full of posters with various quotes, and they all have a purpose. So I would like students to look around the classroom and pick one poster that they find interesting and try to figure out what is the purpose of those words. And we have just engaged in an activity of being conscious of words that surround us. Enriching a classroom library is also another way to facilitate word consciousness in the classroom. Recognizing and promoting adept diction. It usually involves reading aloud in class while discussing the new words. It's very important that the teacher highlights the new words or important words, because if the teacher doesn't do it, students won't care. It's also important to take time to discuss the word choices that the authors make and reinforce words that are central to reading, as well as making considerations of word choice in writing. These are the following questions that students could be encouraged to ask themselves as they engage in writing, and they also have to do with word choice. Okay, are the words precise enough? Do they convey what you really mean? Are they appropriately formal and informal? Is the reader going to be familiar with the words? Will the word be appealing? And if the certain words are used too frequently, perhaps one could replace them with synonyms. It is also important to choose words that are consistent with the purpose of writing, and the following simple ideas is just to know the purpose, know the audience, and just research and have the necessary knowledge for the topic that you're writing for. There are certain toolkits that writers possess, and some of those are just kind of keeping in mind that generic features for good writing are consistent in most writing forms. When the purpose of writing changes, so does the text form. Another important factor about good writers is that they draw on a range of skills such as generating and organizing ideas, being careful when selecting words, creating sentences that make sense and have the proper grammar and punctuation and spelling. Those are important things. So right now I would like to engage students in an activity for word analysis. As you look at this graph, it consists of 4 parts, and in the first part you could choose a word and look up its definition and write down, what does this word mean? What do you do with it? This box is actually my favorite because it stirs up the most creativity. What might this word symbolize? If we talk about the word trail, for example, what could the word trail symbolize? Well, it could symbolize a path of life. It could symbolize generations of people kind of making way for the new generation. If you play with words and ideas in this box, you could come up with so many metaphors and so many symbolisms that you could engage in your writing. Components of the word, what the word consists of, what's the root of the word, really helps just know what your word is all about. And then having a personal experience with the word, where have I heard this word, where have I seen it? And I think if students get to personally connect with the word, they will be able to use it more, and they will find that they actually already know the word because they've experienced it before, they just didn't pay attention. So this graph will be given as homework to students. Every student will get a worksheet with a blank graph, and they will be asked to choose 5 words that they could analyze in the graph. The words could be of their choice from the chapter reading. Research shows that when students have a choice of words that they would like to learn, they learn it more effectively. But we will limit the choices of words to the class reading so that they can still learn within the framework of the objectives of the class. And the words that we have written down as our favorite words will also be assigned as homework, so you can get to know your favorite words better. And in conclusion, engage in vocabulary enhancement outside of classroom, right? Pay attention to words that surround you. Explore why certain words are preferred over others in daily conversation. It actually has a lot to do with history of the word. If we listen to a song, inquire, what do the words mean? And pay closer attention when you read. Put yourself in the place of the author and try to figure out why he used a certain word. And this is my lesson and the references. Thank you for your attention.